Vice Chair Thompson. Member Beamer.
Present.
Member Stewart.
Here.
Member Wilson. A quorum is present.
Sure. All please stand, take off your hats, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
All right. Pledge of allegiance, let's move over to public comment. Do I hear any or see any? Yeah, so there'll be two opportunities for public comment tonight. So this is going to be an initial one, then we'll go through ours, do our consent and everything, and then we're going to call it again.
It's up to you.
Yep, really up to you guys. We're here for you guys. All right, if you don't mind just coming up here, you're going to hit the button and then just state your name. And I think we're going to leave it at about 3 minutes, public comment, just to keep it going. Yeah, I got it on here.
Please, yeah, there you go. Start over if you could.
Okay.
Please.
Okay, my name is Craig Carpenter Downer. I'm a wildlife ecologist, and I'd like to address the letter from the Coalition for Healthy Nevada Lands now before you for your endorsement. I consider it's a very bold pronouncement that portrays Nevada's wild horses and burros as destructive misfits that must be controlled and limited to the maximum, similarly to domestic livestock. These documents, or the document, the letter, and other supportive documents in a presentation that I heard the other week are very misleading and incomplete in their treatment of the subject. If this accelerated wild horse and burro removal plan is adopted, it will have a devastating effect on the already overly reduced and unnaturally altered wild horse and burro herds in their legal natural homes or habitats. The points, pictures, and graphs that I observe in support of this letter are very tendentious in that they promote an agenda that portrays the naturally living horses and burros as destructive, invasive non-natives, and proceeds to fix the blame upon them for many of the region's most serious environmental problems. In my opinion, as a professional wildlife ecologist, these claims have lost sight of the big picture and failed to consider the major environmental impact factors concerning the public lands in these wild equids, that these wild equids inhabit as a legal right. The aggressive put-down approach to Nevada's wild equids also concerns the rights of the majority of the general public who support these national heritage animals and want to see them fairly treated under the provisions of the Wild Free-Roaming Horse and Burro Act and other related laws, including, it's in my testimony. These people greatly treasure the wild equids who enhance their quality of life, especially when living as befits their truer, more complete natures in the wild. And I go on to list some of the serious omissions and partialities of the coalition letter. Number one, I talk about the failure to bring livestock ranching impacts into the equation and to recognize the relative proportion of livestock operations. Is that my time up? Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, that was one about the livestock. Two was about it leaves out the major positive contributions that wild horses and burros make to Nevada's and the West ecosystems. And I am an expert in that. That's my expertise, is that order, the odd-toed ungulates, the Parasidactyla. I've done extensive studies of the tapirs and the equids. And I give my references, and I just Well, the other things, I just urge you not to endorse this letter because I consider it extremely biased and not in line with what the general public wants, or it's sort of a disrespectful thing toward the horses and burros themselves. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, anyone else?
Any further public comment?
I know that I can't do this in 3 minutes.
Can you just,
Sorry,
State
my
your
name's
name.
Tawny Jensen,
Mr.
and I'm just a citizen. And I'm the one who had the pictures with mine. You got that?
Yep.
I just wanted to make sure everybody read it and let you know that I'm totally against the, maybe I can read the part about the coalition. They consist of around 500 people apparently trying to speak for all taxpayers, since they're also government agencies, but seemingly more of a special interest group, and has a mission statement saying to ensure blah, blah, for over 700 species of wildlife, free roaming horses and burros, making it sound like they're supportive of the horses and burros, but have proven that they're not by asking to have them removed with no regard to how they're treated. Along with Sherman Swanson's report, I don't know, at another meeting I was at, he was public comment. I don't know if they paid him or what, but the pictures in his report are out like 3 or 4 or more years old. They don't prove when the season was. They prey on people, like showing the dead foal on the ground, but not mentioning the horrible things that happened to them in the roundups. And I felt like it was pretty one-sided and not for all the citizens and taxpayers. So, and for all the reasons in my letter, I strongly oppose support of the Coalition for Healthy Lands letter to Tracy Stone Manning. Any further roundups and any else who supports the roundups. The wild horses are a benefit to our state in the way of tourism, business, art, enjoyment, mental health, quality of life, and education. Tawny Jensen, 5th generation Nevadan with 7th generation grandkids. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other?
I would just like to hand this out. The coalition has started their list of supporters, and we, just since yesterday, have started a list of people
Thank you.
to add, and it's growing by the minute.
Appreciate ya.
Calling in and saying they support, not allowing.
And what was your name?
Anna Maria Balstrid. I can read my comment quick since I'm up here.
Yeah, just state it in there for the record.
Okay. My name is Anna Maria Balstrid. The letter from the Coalition for Healthy Nevada Lands clearly sees the much-loved horses as purely a nuisance on public lands. The letter is requesting more money to round up and warehouse more of these magnificent animals in mass corrals. I believe that they are totally out of touch with how the public views the wild horses and even how the state uses them to promote Nevada. What the letter from the coalition also fails to understand is that Nevada's economy is in large part sustains itself not from ranching but from entertainment. Thousands of people flock to the state for events as diverse as Burning Man and Las Vegas's casinos. Tourists also come to Nevada to experience the Wild West and its wide open desert spaces. As a state, we are totally overlooking the potential of an amazing resource right there on the range, the magnificent Mustangs. I believe this is happening because the horses are in direct competition for grazing rights on our public lands. Horses are being rounded up and ranching is being subsidized, all with our tax money. Any of us who have seen a herd of wild horses out on the range, grazing or galloping with their families, is usually thrilled to see them. Quite unlike our monochrome cattle who stand idly all day, these equines are wonderful colors and sizes and constantly on the move. I quote a fellow American who said, "For my own tiny part in this equine saga, I admit to having grown fond of wild horses after admiring their small, swift herds while I was backpacking. To me, the horses looked wild and natural, whereas the cattle looked exotic and destructive. Wake up, Nevada. Go outside and see for yourself. Often we do not value what is right before our eyes, right on our doorsteps. There are indeed multiple organizations offering wild horse tours in the state. But if we continue to round up the wild horses at this rate, there will no longer be wild horses to see. I quote this time from the Wild Horse Adventures of Nevada. Moving in a rhythm older than man's urge to tame them, their silhouetted images dance across the horizon. Eyes and nostrils wide open, they earn their native name of wind drinkers. They sweep out of sight, but not out of memory. The coalition does not speak for the people of Nevada. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, please come up, state your name for the record. Thank you.
Yes. Good evening. Can you hear me? Laura Fusen, Carson City resident and a wild horse advocate. I'm here tonight writing to you to express my opposition to signing this letter to the BLM National Director Tracy Stone Manning requesting more financial assistance to round up more wild horses and burro off Nevada herd management areas. Currently, there are 10,000 horses slated to be round up in 2024. This letter is asking for more funds and more roundups. I oppose this letter. There is a better way. If we reestablish HMAs with accurate, updated research, the herd management areas are not utilized to their full potential and are mismanaged. Some of these HMAs are overpopulated, some are absent of any horses, while more are at their achieved populations. A separate agency needs to be formed, separate from BLM, I feel, appointed by the government to manage Nevada's biggest wildlife issue. Taking more horses, burros off the land and penning them for years is not cost-effective and a major hit to our government spending. There is a better way. HMAs must be reassessed and horses rewilded to specific areas. Please stop kicking the can down the road and acknowledge this blatant letter. Approving this letter is not solving any detail of wildlife management. It only furthers it. Do not allow mining, cattlemen, and big game hunters to sway you. Recognizing this letter from the Coalition for Healthy Nevada Lands as misrepresented, outdated, non-factual entity that it is. The public is very aware of the collusion going on with these groups. If you please do not support this letter, thank you for your time tonight.
What was your name again?
Laura Fusen,
Fusen, Miss Fusen.
do you have my
Thank
letter?
you. I do have your letter, and I will just say real quick, as part of public comment, that I appreciated some of the things that you brought up, and I agree with some of them, so thank you.
Thank you. It's really nice to hear from the board instead of the empty faces. We don't know where you stand, and we just hope that everyone appreciates the wild horse, but can you get behind it and not allow this letter to go any further? I appreciate your time. Thank you, gentlemen.
Yep, thank you. I think you know the drill. State the name for the record. 3 minutes.
Denny French, Carson City, Nevada. I am the least well alerted and least educated on the subject, but I can tell you this, that what I understand of the presence of these magnificent animals and what it has become in its sense, battle-born. Those horses live every day on the edge. Nobody's really managing their concerns. And that's a shame. The individuals behind me have done research. They've been so involved. I'm peripheral of them and I'm in awe. And they are available to come up with ways to help manage the situations that we find objectionable. I think that the cows and the horses and the mining and all of the different things that bring people to Carson and things that we have here, it could be a partnership, not a battlefield. And the horses are the ones that are paying. And our environment, quite frankly, if they're not given space. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. French. Any other comments? All right. Thanks, everyone, for that jumped in. All right. Let's move on to action item number 3 for possible action approval of minutes for the January 22nd, 2024 meeting. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All against, say nay. Ayes take it. 5 to nothing. They're approved. Thank you. All right, moving over to number 4, update and activity report on the Carson City Urban Wildlife Committee.
If I may, Mr. Chair. So a little bit of an update. We received a number of inquiries regarding deer on the west side as well as in central Carson City. We engaged with the Departments of Wildlife's urban wildlife specialist. Raquel is her name, and she was able to give individuals information on how to cohabitate with the deer, and especially when it came to landscape. And there were some deer living in on somebody's property that to try and get out of the weather and the snow, and they were upset about that. And so we were able to engage with that individual and kind of have a meeting in the middle, if you will, and then give her some recommendations on things that she can do to lessen the chance of deer wanting to cohabitate on her land. And so I thought that was good. The department engaged well with that, I think. And then we also had a great youth bird watching and identification activity down in Riverview, and that was pretty awesome. There was a whole bunch of youth that came from the what is known as it's a youth wildlife. I'm sorry, a youth livestock group that where the youth actually show different animals that they raise, and so a lot of them raise ducks and poultry and fowl. And so we were able to go and take a look at some of the wild ducks and geese and identify them. And I thought that was pretty cool. I kind of led that down in the Riverview area. And then we had 2 complaints about bears, one down at the Capitol, and then one over up in the Timberline area. And so I know that the department sent their bear and predator specialists over to kind of investigate. I don't think that they found the bears, but I think it's just a great opportunity for the public to realize that bears do not typically hibernate in our area, that they are active all year round, and that we need to do our part as citizens of this city, especially, to make sure that we are securing those things that attract them, especially our garbage and other things that they like to get into occasionally. And so that's the end of my report.
Awesome. Thank you, Rob. Moving on to number 5, update from the chair on the November 3rd and 4th, 2023, and the January 26th, 27, 2024 Nevada Board of Wildlife Commissioners meeting. Who did it go? Who went again? You went, right?
I went on Friday.
Yep. And you guys went Saturday, so you want to start it, Rob, and then we'll move over to.
Sure. So on Friday, I had to actually leave early because I got called to another meeting at my real job. And so, but I did get a chance to listen to the first part of the meeting, mainly all the reports. I don't really have much to share other than the standard reports that were given in the beginning of the morning. I wasn't able to stay for the afternoon, so I don't have anything to report on that. But most of everything was kind of handled on Saturday, it looked like anyway, so I would defer to Member Thompson.
Yeah, on Saturday, there was not many items that were discussed in regards to like pertinent information. I think the big ones that came about was due to the impact of the winter and to the environment in regards to the recruitment of various species of sheep and the mule deer. Washoe County CAB advocated for the closing of 014 for desert bighorn due to the substantial impact to the population. In an effort to have that herd recoup their numbers. And then the California sheep in the Area 31 who had suffered from the kill from pneumonia. The department has chosen to close the Montana range for any California bighorn sheep hunts. Also, as we all know, in regards to Elko County and the impact of the winter and, of course, the damage to the environment in their area, that they're recommending the closing of mule deer for Area 6, 7, and 10. That would doe mule deer.
Mm-hmm.
For 6, 7, and 10. And they're actually discussing the closure of the mule deer hunt in those areas for the upcoming season. The really only highlight that they covered was the moose have migrated into Nevada. Their numbers have increased tenfold over the last several years. To amount to where that the department will be issuing a moose hunt this year. Unknown numbers that's coming up in regards to the Tag and Allocation Committee. But the moose hunt is going to be once in a lifetime hunt. And it's just another opportunity for hunters in Nevada. And then, of course, what dominated the meeting was discussion and public comment in regards to the bear season. Nothing came out of conclusion from that, and then the meeting closed out from there.
Awesome.
So quick question on the moose hunt. I know that can't really happen unless it actually goes to the legislature and they pass it in the legislature and write it into regulation.
Oh, that's what was.
But that was what was discussed.
That was
right?
what was discussed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
it's their intent that they do want to.
Oh no, they're going to have a moose hunt.
Okay,
That was their position.
thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Danny. Moving over to item number 6, reports and informational. The following items are informational and for discussion only. No action may be taken by the board. Any item requiring board action will be scheduled on a future board agenda. Is there anything from 6A to 6L that we'd want to pull?
I would like to pull
6E? Okay. Anything else?
One moment, please.
Yep.
I'd like to pull 6F as in Frank, please.
6F. Okay. 6E,
Yeah, that's all.
you good over there, Tim? Mr. Stewart? All right, cool. Do we want to do anything on 6B through D? And then G through L?
I mean,
Not much to do, right?
really, there's not. I would just recommend a stay neutral
Okay.
on those items until we kind of hear the reports.
Perfect. All right, moving over to 6E, since Danny, you wanted to pull it, I'll let you start.
Yeah, I just. Vice Chair Thompson, I just wanted to discuss and just bring to the attention of the committee, just showing that the amount of, what the winter of last year occurred, and then the multiple cases of pneumonia within the herds, that the department is moving to have all sheep tags, mountain goat, and of course moose be once in a lifetime tag, which was deviating from the current procedures. It just shows the impact to the environment and how we need to really like make moves to increase our native populations.
And that one-time tag just means once you draw,
It's it.
suspension.
It's it. No more. No more. No more. No,
That
no
person's
second
never
chance
eli-
for sheep or
Yeah, that person's never eligible again.
never eligible.
Okay.
Whether or not you, it's just drawn to tag.
Yeah. Anything else on 6E? All right, let's move over to 6F. Rob?
So 6F, we have actually discussed this in the past. I think whoever's going to be attending the meeting on behalf of the Carson City Cab, I really would like to make sure we get a good report on this. There's some real controversial things there that Wine Cup Gamble is attempting to do, and I think that it'd be interesting to hear what the other cabs, what their take is on it as well. Of course, it's not it's not in our area here in Carson City. It's up north of Wells, in unit 079 through 081. It's probably one of the bigger ranches in that area. They also owned the Pequot Conservancy, which is they have fenced off and closed to all public access. And so there was kind of a bargaining thing going on in the last presentation that they gave that kind of discussed the potential of opening that up to that Pequot area up to limited use, which I think is something the department really should advocate, given the fact that we have that citizens and all the NGOs across the state put in literally hundreds of thousands of dollars in infrastructure to create guzzlers for wildlife to use, and they can't even get in there and maintain them. And so I'm a little concerned about that. I'm hoping that that is included in the proposal, that they will start opening that up for limited public use, and which is what it should have been to begin with. A little concerned that BLM actually made that land swap way back in the day. I kind of grew up there, and so this one concerns me a lot. It would be great, whoever's going to be attending the meeting in Vegas, which I think, Mr. Chair, you are, correct? If you could possibly take some good notes on that. I plan on attending via virtually, but I really would like to get some of the details on what their recommendations are, and kind of what the other cabs and what the commission is, what their attitudes are towards this, right? And so we can kind of get ahead of this to see if maybe we could possibly negotiate a little bit more for wildlife across the state. So that's all I have.
Vice Chair Thompson, during public comment on that, It was brought up in regards to asking for more information in regards to the land exchange. The commission asked their legal team that was there an update on it. Not much information was given, but what they said, it's going to happen. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
And then that's the reason that they're going to have the discussion about it this weekend.
I just hope that, Member Beamer, for the record, I just hope that, that the commission will use this as a potential opportunity to do something, potentially awesome for wildlife, especially in that region, right? And some of the things that they were proposing early on, I think would be fantastic. I'm a little leery to see what's the trade-off, so it'll be interesting to see what that proposal is.
All right, perfect. Moving on then to our consent agenda items. Is there any that we want to pull?
So I would pull agenda item number 7A,
Yep.
and then also, I'd like to pull agenda item 7H as in Henry and 7I as in Igloo.
Okay. Anyone else? Anything else? All right, then before we jump into 7A, H, and I, excluding those, I'd look for a motion to support the Carson City CAB to support their remaining consent agenda items.
So, Mr. Chair, if I may, Rob Beamer for the record, I recommend that we support or offer an endorsement of support to 7B, C, D, E, F as in Frank, G as in George.
That's it.
That's it.
All right, do I hear a second?
I second that motion.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All against, say no. B, C, D, E, F, G, all approved unanimously. All right. I think it'd be appropriate for 7A, since we have multiple people here that'd like to discuss it, that we just start by pulling Wild Horse and Burro letter at its March 8, 2024 meeting. The Nevada Board of Wildlife Commissioners will discuss the sign-on Wild Horse Burro letter addressed to Tracy Stone Manning, the Director of Bureau of Land Management from the Coalition for Healthy Nevada Lands, Wildlife, and Free Roaming Horses. I know there's some public out here. Some of you guys have already talked. If there's anyone else that would like to come up.
I was asked to, by this guy who studied them a lot and helped them a lot in a certain area. He wanted me to read his statement.
Perfect. Come on up and state your name one more time, and then you can state the gentleman that you're reading it for as well.
He helped me do a field study of wild horses. He asked me to do that.
And then I have copies for all of you, too. So, my name is Craig C. Downer again. I'm a wildlife ecologist here. I live over in the Indian Hills area. And I, oh,
Is it green? We want to make sure it's green there,
I
okay?
see what you mean.
Yeah. thank
Okay,
you.
yeah. Name is Craig C. Downer. I live over in the Indian Hills area. And I worked with this guy. He's devoted much of his life to helping the wild horses in an area where they're highly persecuted and often shot. He's really got a lot of courage. And his name is Stacy Sanchez. And he holds the title of Wildlife and Livestock Range Management Specialist for the Wild Horse Observers Association. He's been documenting, or I'll just say it in his person, I've been documenting wild horse activity in the Black Mesa Ranger District for more than 8 years now. The tall tales about wild horse population in this area has been a concern of mine since the first year that I read an estimate posted by the Forest Service. In fact, I have emails that were written to the forester to request that they put someone in charge that could at least be honest about conversations that he and I had. So apparently making false statement is not something that is held to be the population rhetoric alone. I am not familiar with a lot of the other wild horse territories, but I can assure you that I have never seen an estimate posted by the Black Mesa Ranger District that wasn't at least twice what was actually out there. In fact, in 2019, if I am not mistaken, Forest Service asked for volunteers to help count the herd. After the count was done, they posted an estimation of above 400 on the high end. At the time, I was told that the actual count was 327, and the volunteer that told me this also said that he knew some were counted twice by the way they were routed. My estimate that year was 275, and I have always added 50 to my estimate just to be fair. Point in case, the Forest Service flyover of 2020 posted the official estimation at 414. My estimation that year was 327, again with an additional 50, just to be fair. Due to fencing down across borders, this number has increased some. However, the Forest Service estimate has quadrupled in just 4 years. My estimates are showing a pretty consistent growth of about 50 a year. Unfortunately, in this area, some don't survive due to other dishonest actions, such as ignoring the Taylor Grazing Act. Please understand, if you're going to attempt to wipe out an entire species, it should be based on something more than just a bunch of fabricated number and false statement about the damage done by the horses, especially since I've been documenting the fact that it's actually the cattle doing the damage. Yeah, I'll just finish up. We should get past this rhetoric. It's time for some real studies. It's time to have professionals. And the Wild Free Roaming Horse Birds Act was written into law for the American public. We shouldn't be allowing it to be stolen by special interests. And I did a study with him and some other assistants help in this area of Arizona. And anyway, it's on my website, and you have that in my statement. So.
Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Downer. Hold on 1 second. Let him finish up, then you can come on up.
Good evening. Thanks for giving us this opportunity. I'd like to urge you to,
Can you state your name?
Robin Orloff, I'm sorry. I've sent in my letters, and I'm going to just ad-lib it here. I urge you to not support the coalition letter. My concern is I've been in Nevada for 40-something years. I came here from back east. I was way somewhere out in the middle of nowhere, and I got buzzed by some fighter pilots, and I almost hit some free grazing cows, open grazing cows. And I went, I'm not going back. This place is cool. So I settled in Nevada and ended up marrying an F-15 pilot, which was kind of odd, who's also a petroleum engineer. So I'm not against a lot of what we're doing here in Nevada. I'm in favor of, and we travel a lot in Nevada, way out to the eastern, southern, that's what we do. We search for riparian environments, and we explore ghost towns and mines, and we love looking at mines. We were the Marietta Burro Range, and we were just absolutely amazed at the burros running around there, and we followed them around. We dirt bike and we mountain bike. And I'm just amazed at the amount of acreage in Nevada. And I am concerned why we have to round up these horses. Isn't there enough land for all of us? And are we considering, I'd like my tax money to be used to manage the horses and keep the public safe, get them off the streets, get them out of the neighborhoods, stop them from eating the apples or whatever they're doing, and from affecting the sagebrush ecosystem. And I'm wondering if there isn't room for the horses and the cattle and the mining and the hunting and the military and the solar and the wind. I mean, we have a huge, 43 million acres. And I'd like my tax money to be used for for the management of all of those things. And I've seen a lot of riparian areas that are impacted by OHVs and by quarry people going up to get water from the pipes. And I think we're all impacting the riparian. So I'm just wondering if there isn't a way that we can include everyone and manage everything and maybe stop the inhumane treatment. It pains me to see some of those videos and see what's going on with the horses. And isn't there another way to manage them and to protect our sagebrush ecosystem? So anyway, I guess I think that's all I have to say. But I have been, very remote, out Gleason, south of Echo, out to Beaver Wash, and we see cows and we see horses, and I don't really see the damage necessarily of one over the other. And I'd appreciate your considering not signing on to the letter. Thank you.
Yep, thank you. Any other public comment?
Can I say a few more just words?
You have to come up.
Yep, come up, state your name again for the record.
Sure. It's Anna Maria Balstrid. I got involved with the horse issue after last July, and I started reading in the press. I had my sister who lives in Switzerland contacting me, in-laws from Germany contacting me because they knew I lived in Nevada and they had seen videos of the horrific treatment that these horses had endured in Nevada. So I am one of the people who stands out in front of the Capitol in the freezing cold, protesting with our signs to stop these wild horse roundups. And I have to tell you, the public is so supportive. They honk, they give thumbs up. So I really do feel, especially this coalition, that they are out of touch. I've walked around our neighborhood on the west side talking to neighbors, and I've had so many neighbors saying to me, you can put my name on anything to support the wild horses. So I would just ask you gentlemen to really identify with your constituents here and know what the public is feeling about these wild horses, because it is not what the coalition is asking for. Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to make a very short statement because
Come up one more time.
I am a professional wildlife ecologist. Okay, okay. Yeah, Craig C. Downer for the record. And there's a lot of talk about management and the need for a better plan. And in my statement, I talk about reserve design, which is related to rewilding. And also about the need for fairness, for greater fairness to these animals, more equitable proportions, and not always fixing the blame on them and putting them into a squeeze play. Now, I really wish you would look at my reserve design proposal for establishing naturally, genetically viable, ecologically well-adapted, and naturally self-stabilizing populations through correct reserve design, because this would solve the problem and we would be honoring their true natures as naturally living horses and burros. These are deeply rooted in North America, and they do restore balance to the ruminant artiodactyl herbivores and many other, and they contribute to soil building and seed dispersal, and these things should be recognized. I obviously like the horses and consider them my friends, but as a scholar, I also like the greater truth, and I want to see the greater truth about them recognized. So, thank you.
Yep, thank you, sir. Did you want to come up? Please just state your name for the record when you get up there, and then you got 3 minutes. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Kirk Muller. I'm a board member, volunteer, and fertility control specialist with Pine Nut Wild Horse Advocates. I didn't really prepare to speak, but this letter that has been written to BLM, and it's urging to get more money to capture and round up these horses through helicopter roundups as well as bait trapping, to bring the entire state into what BLM has as AML, appropriate management levels. There's no science to these levels. If they do that, they'll take these herd, like the Fish Springs herd, which is adored worldwide. I mean, it's very well published, and 186,000 acres of BLM land and BLM's AML, even though they don't truly have an AML because they declassified it as it's no longer an HMA, it's a herd area. So it's not considered a managed area, but they allow us to manage it. But their AML level for that 186,000 acres, because they don't count the Indian land, they don't count private land, they say it could get fenced off. It hasn't been fenced off for ever, but I understand what their concern is. They're saying the appropriate level of population of horses for that area is 11 to 22 horses. And yet we have 80 very healthy horses that survived a horrible winter last year, and they're looking great coming out of this winter this year. So, and we're maintaining the population through administering birth control, PZP. To bring the state to AML levels, they would have to round up 43,000 horses. They do that by paying these contract people $2,000 a horse to do that. So that's $86 million. And then those horses go into long-term holding at what is an average cost of $50,000 per horse for the remainder of its life. That's over $2 billion. And that's only the beginning of all the costs involved. That doesn't involve BLM being on site to supposedly oversee the operations and all that for the roundups and things. So it makes more sense to put, it's $35 a horse to administer PZP to them annually. So I urge you to recommend not signing on to this letter. It's not good for the taxpayers, it's not good for the horses, it's not good for the economy. Thank you.
All right, state your name for the record, please.
Thank you very much, Chair. Denny French, Carson. I just turned it off, sorry. Denny French, Carson City, Nevada. Thank you very much. I'd like you to consider this letter as a no-go. It's don't sign off on it. There's a lot to be learned from the individuals that are here today and many more that have less, let's say this, more humanity and more natural environment considerations than the people that are so hell-bent on what I think very inhumane ways of relating and managing. And that's bad. That's not necessarily right for me. There might be a bias in there because I see them out there and I know that they draw people here. But whatever they do about people, they need to be treated humanely, and I don't see that in the BLM's in considerations. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Any other public comment? All right. Anyone from the board?
Yeah, so I'll start off with some discussion. First of all, I commend all of you for your position. And although there were some things in the public comment that I read, and I read through every public comment that we received, there's some things that I absolutely agreed with. And I think that everybody that express public comment. I think the underlying theme is that there's a need for viable management for all ecosystems, right? I think we've proven that, and throughout time. And I always like to go to what's, I guess, who has the authority to provide the management, especially when it comes to horses and burros. I don't even know if the BLM truly understands the authority that they have or don't have. And so there's two things I want to bring up, members of this board, is that one thing I know to be factual is the Department of Wildlife cannot take a position on anything like this that has to do with any ecosystems or animals that isn't written in statute that they have the authority to manage. So the Department of Wildlife as a department can't take a position unless the governor comes forward and grants him that authority and that direction. So that's the first thing. All of this coalition for healthy Nevada lands, wildlife, and free roaming horses, they actually can petition the commission all they want to take to support this letter that BLM that they're sending to BLM, and the commission can do that. I got to tell you, from my standpoint here, being a native Nevadan here in Carson City, and having access and witnessing my whole entire life, both wild horses and burros across our state, and I appreciate them. I do appreciate them, but they have to be at a healthy level. And so how we get there, I think this young lady said it best, that quit kicking the can down the road, right? Let's all come together and put a plan in place to make that happen. And I appreciate that. That being said, I can't turn a blind eye to damage that I have actually witnessed wild horses cause to different types of habitat that other species use, and preventing them from actually using it themselves. And so, I don't know what the solution is there, but I do know that we need to come together to create a plan that's going to be a viable plan that will help this ecosystem, if you will, flourish and be healthy. What I think kills me the most is when I see wild horses that out in the landscape in Nevada that are really decimated. They're manged. Some of them are obviously injured, and then probably even more so when I go down to the Dayton area, in Silver Springs area, and I see how many people are feeding these animals and what that's actually causing, the digestion problems and stuff that we have actually seen, horses that have died on the side of the road that I've witnessed myself. I've actually seen it. And that just saddens me to see that, I don't like that for any animal. And so, given all of this, I am not prepared to support, prepared to support this, but I'm also not prepared to deny it either. I feel like I feel more comfortable taking a neutral position on this and allowing the department to have some discussion, engage in some discussion on this at the commission meeting, and see kind of where they land on supporting this. It's my position, though, I want to make it point clear that I absolutely am going to take a neutral position on this issue.
Vice Chair Thompson, I just have to, same thing as Member Beamer discussed, is that I truly, being in sports, and only been here since the early 90s, but being out on the range and seeing wild, healthy animals is representative of the state in itself. But just like Member Beamer said, I've been in places on the range, and I have seen these animals who the environment cannot sustain their life thriving activities, as far as like no food and the damage they do to springs, and then that the board itself is for Department of Wildlife, and I just wondered is that I agree that there needs to be some sort of formal management plan, and doing roundups is not effective. I'm a former peace officer, and I used to train out at Pyramid Range, and I go out there and I drive it constantly by those corrals out there in Palomino Valley, and it makes no sense to me. But I've seen the damage that they have done to the range. I've been on ridge lines that are worn bare by herds. I've seen trees stripped as high as their head can get to try to get forage. And there is an overpopulation of horses in Nevada. Nevada has the largest population in the western states, and there needs to be a manageable number. And what that number is and what the science is to get to it, it's something that needs to be addressed. And by being vocal like you are, I think that it helps to bring that attention to us. Because I believe, just like Member Beer is saying, members of the board, that BLM is just a knee-jerk, non-scientific study in regards to trying to do population control. And like I said, I agree that with Member Beamer, and I say that it's my position that the board remain neutral, rather than not supporting, but not denying the application, because something needs to be done. Which is evidence that I brought up from our last meeting, that the department is closing hunt areas due to damage to the environment and to the low numbers of game animals that we here as the board are as the conduit to help perpetuate activities. And so now we're in a huge competition in which one do we wait for. And so it's my position that the board remain neutral.
Thank you. I'm with Rob, Chairman Beamer and Chairman Thompson. Like Chairman Beamer, I'm a native Nevada, and I grew up here. I've been all over the state and have seen the same things. I thank you guys for coming out tonight and speaking and dropping off everything that you dropped off. And I'm going to remain neutral on this also.
All right, I'll close it out. I just want to say thanks for coming out and being a part of this since I've been a chair on my short time here. This is the most engagement I've seen so far on any topic, so I appreciate it. It's always nice to see that the public takes an interest, and I want you guys to keep moving forward with it and keep pushing, because it's good that each side's heard, especially from the public, so when we go to the commissions with the NDOW and everything, I hope it doesn't just stop at the counties. It goes all the way to the state level. But having a newborn kid, I hope he gets to see the wild horses, similar that I got to see the wild horses. I don't support what they have here, and I support the other board members on keeping a neutral stance, not pushing for or against, with the idea that something needs to happen. This might not be the right answer. It might be a quick one that we see very often. So with that being said,
If I may just add to that, Member Beamer, for the record, my feeling is if we were to take there are some things that I am absolutely against of what's being potentially proposed here. I think I'd like to see a little bit more data that supports a management plan. I too don't believe that the roundups do anything. I think I appreciated the comment that how much money is spent on these roundups and for what benefit does it provide? I think that's when you put a management plan in place, right? We have to be able to measure that. And roundups just, there's no measurable, there's really nothing to measure when you engage in those. And so I think taking a position of not, taking a position of not endorsing this would prevent the potential of us progressing and trying to come to get to a place where we can actually develop a viable plan. So that's one of the main reasons why I'm remaining neutral on this, is I want to see something happen here. We have the wild horse resource that we have in our own backyard is something that is unique to Carson City and unique to Northern Nevada. I know all of you know that, right? And so, and I know all the members of the board acknowledge that as well. So that's the reason I'm taking a neutral position. What I don't want to have happen is anybody to leave here today and say, well, those guys didn't want to take any action or be part of the solution. That's not what I'm saying. So I hope that you all understand that and that the board understands that my position of remaining neutral is with the hopes that we can stop kicking the can down the road, right? Let's gosh darn it, let's get some real management happening for these animals, which I just adore so much. And so,
Rob, that's actually where I was going to lead to. I know we've done this in the past on taking a neutral stance with a comment with your position right there. Just let's do something different. We understand that a wildlife management plan needs to be a part of it, but I don't think that we have the data that supports what they're.
and frankly, I appreciate you saying that, but frankly, the Department of Wildlife has no authority whatsoever over wild horses. Absolutely none whatsoever. And so in order for them to even take a position, they would have to go through the legislative process, and I don't know if we're going to see that happen unless the governor interacts and says, no, this is what I want to see happen. And then cutting through all the federal bureaucracy and red tape offers another challenge, right? And so again, we're just kicking the can down the road. And the only thing that's really suffering is our habitats across the state of Nevada and all of the animal species that we have here in the state of Nevada. I'm sure that this gentleman who claims to be an ecologist would absolutely agree that Nevada pretty much has more living ecosystems than the majority of states in the country, because of our high desert country and what it provides. And so, I recall us here recently. The most recent thing that I recall is when we were faced with this lack of management for reptiles. If you guys recall that, I know Tim, you weren't on the board at that time, but I was astonished to realize that and to hear that the state had no management plan for the plethora of reptiles that we have, and that people were coming from multiple states outside of the Nevada to set traps and harvest reptiles without Nevada receiving any revenue or anything from that, right? Like, oh my gosh, you're taking a resource from our state and we receive nothing from that. We only lose. And so I think that this is similar. to that. There has to be a management plan in place for horses to make sure that they're at a viable level for the habitat that they inhabit. And I want to see that more than anybody. So I think, to circle back to, I think our position is, I would appreciate the board supporting us taking a neutral position, but with the premise that we feel that we acknowledge that absolutely a management plan has to be put in place, and that what's being proposed in this, we don't necessarily think, we question whether or not that's the right plan of action. And again, I'm still remaining neutral on it, but with the hopes that maybe this resonates with this group and other groups, that a management plan needs to be developed, and there needs to be kind of some collaboration between special interest groups, federal agencies that have authority to manage this and manage our habitat, BLM being one of them, and U.S. Department of Agriculture being another. And but I just don't want to see us say take a neutral position and not offer anything else as kind of a support to that, right? Like I really would like to see us take a position of neutrality, and with the added premise that we don't necessarily feel like what's being proposed here is a viable management plan. And so, anyway, that's my thoughts. I certainly don't expect the rest. I'm only one vote. I don't expect the rest of the board to follow everything that I'm saying, but I think that we need to give them a little more substance than just taking a neutral position. But my thoughts.
I'll push that forward as a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second that motion.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. All against, say opposed. All right, for action item, consent agenda item 7A, we took a neutral stance with the premise that we accept that we need a wildlife management plan, but the one that they're proposing isn't necessarily the one that we support. All right?
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Moving over to consent item number 7H.
Yeah, so 7H is, if I may, Mr. Chair.
Yep.
Given I pulled this, every year we actually have to determine seasons, bag limits, and special regulations when it comes to waterfowl and webless migratory game birds, public hunting limited on wildlife management areas and designated state lands for different seasons. This is going to go over really this 2024-2025 season. I'm hoping that all of you got a chance to take a look at what's being proposed here. My concern always is with our duck seasons. Here they're talking about the northwest zone going from October 12th through January 6th, and then taking a break for 3 days and going from January 9th to January 26th. I'm not object to the break, but I think what a lot of waterfowlers, both waterfowl hunters as well as waterfowl enthusiasts, like to see is when the ducks are on their migratory path, and having the season start so early in October is sometimes a detriment to that. And so in the past, we have asked that we've asked that we are able to start later, have a start date of a little bit later, to be able to take advantage of the full end date of the season that the federal Fish and Wildlife allow, right? And so it would be my suggestion that we offer a position of support to the seasons and bag limits that are listed here. And with the ask, I guess, or the request, that in the northwest region, the northwest zone, that we ask if it's possible. And what I'd like to do is, if you're going to be attending this meeting, Mr. Chair, I'd like to see if you can request from the biologists or from the waterfowl specialist group, which is Russell, I believe, if he sees anything from a biological standpoint that would prevent or cause any detriment to being able to take advantage of the very last day that the federal Fish and Wildlife have allotted for waterfowl season in this upcoming year, and that somehow we either start the season later and end it at the very end with that bereavement in between. I'm all for that, and we've done that multiple times in the past. But I'd like to make sure that we are able to go to the end of the season that Fish and Wildlife actually allots for us. So however we got to do that in the northwest zone, the reason I say that is because waterfowl in this zone, when we can pick up that last season, we're getting a lot of the species that we don't typically get to see in northern Nevada, like the cinnamon teal coming back from South America, as well as the blue-winged teal, which is pretty rare that we get to see blue-winged teal when we end the season prior to the end of January. And so in the past, we've been able to go into the first week of February, and we actually get a chance to see them. I know that a lot of people appreciate that, both enthusiasts, waterfowl enthusiasts and hunters alike. And so that would be my request, is that we offer a position of support with the ask that in the northwest zone, that we're able to take advantage of the very last day of what's being allotted in the federal, from the federal Fish and Wildlife for waterfowl season. And if that means that we have to start the season later, then I would request that.
Vice Chair Thompson. As you know, last year, Ricky and I did some investigation in regards to contacting the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, and also speaking to the waterfowl specialist for the state of Nevada. And I gave the proposal why we are not capitalizing the last day of the season and counting back the 100 days of the season. U.S. Fish and Wildlife, pretty much what they said is that the states get to set their time frame in regards to the season, but that waterfowl season has to conclude on January 31st, and that it cannot exceed 107 days. The average for Nevada is a 100-day season, and so I had asked, why can't we? Because every time I want to go duck hunting, it's a 3-day break. And it just never fails because I'm not paying attention. Why can't we go from the 31st, count back to 100 days and start the season? And it came out as that well, of course, I'm in the minority, but that the department wants to open both upland and waterfowl on the same weekend.
Which I think is just
it's ridiculous.
I just completely disagree with that.
And so I would go take it one step further, and so this season would end on a Friday. The 26th is a Sunday, and it would be my again request that the seasons end on the 31st. We count back 100 days, and have one continuous season to extend to the end. January 31st.
I could support that.
Any other comments?
I agree with Member Thompson.
Member Wilson? I think just pushing that 1 week back or 2 weeks back, like Rob was saying anyways,
It's
you
huge.
really start to hit the migratory. So you're not just putting a lot of pressure on the local
Well,
birds that sit
that's-
here over the season.
That's the
and
issue
don't.
right there, is that really puts a lot of pressure on the local birds, and really, they're not in that great a shape, and so, that's another reason why I think it's just good waiting.
We don't
And
get
the
the
bio,
migrant, yeah.
and the biology supports that. I mean, we've heard that time and time again, so.
Well, I'm glad you guys wanted to do that because I was going to do a public comment if we didn't have one already with the board when I went down there. So I'll look for an action item to approve 7H with the caveat that we'd like to push 100 days back from the January 31st federal ending of the season with that week break for the birds.
So I would make that motion, that's all right with you, Mr.
Oh,
Thompson?
yeah, absolutely.
And I would also request that, given we pulled this item, that we open it up for public comment for anybody that wants to make public comment.
That's true. Any public comment?
Denny French, Carson City, Nevada. Thank you very much. I'm sure that most of us are, well, I'm going to speak for myself. Been listening to and watching the migrational habits of the universe right now, just the stars and everything doing its own thing. But our migrational insect patterns have changed dramatically and are in the ebb of changing more. Birds and their migrations have been disrupted not only by our seasonally and unseasonally weathered, the habitats that they're going to no longer exist for many different reasons, development, war, other activities. And I am really very sort of tickled by the fact that you can set a date. When I'm seeing the world changing so fast, you almost have to stay flexible to that everyday moments. You know, it is important to schedule certain things, and I'm really appreciative of the fact that you're going to take into account biologic, have people that are scientific come in and help you with knowing, are you messing with the long-range bird habitats? Are you messing with their strength to recover? And are the hunting seasons going to be enough for you to continue your drive to have that as a recreational type deal? And my thinking is, I'm hoping that you can schedule things. I'm not quite that optimistic about the migrational paths that we're on right now, that those goals that you are making are even possible. They can change overnight, and we've had our share of strange times. But I just really appreciate that you're bringing the scientific aspect into it, and I appreciate the fact that you have so many things that you're considering, not just the hunt, because without consideration, you won't have that ability. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. French. Any other public comment? All right, come up and state your name. I think you know that by now, though.
Things on. Okay, Craig, see down there again. Yeah, I was a Peace Corps volunteer in the Andes and used to observe a lot of the teals.
No, it's on, it just, he needs to move it closer to him.
Yeah. So I used to observe a lot of the blue-winged and teals and the different birds that are up here. It was really a delight to see them. And I'm glad you're considering endorsing the U.S. Fish and Wildlife's concerns for their healthy populations. And there are a lot of changes happening in the world today. So thank you for doing that.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. Any other? All right. So I think I have that motion. We're good to go. You seconded it, right, Danny?
I second that motion.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All against, say no. The ayes take it unanimously, 5-0 for support, with the caveat of pushing it out to the last federal day and a week break and 100 days after. All right, moving on to 7I. Rob, I'm going to learn from my mistake. I'm going to let I'm going to open it for public comment to start and see if there's anything that they want to talk about before this, and then let us jump into the conversation so that we can take that into account. All right, I'll open it up after too, for anyone if there's any comment after our comments. All right, perfect. Danny, you pulled this, right? Or is that Rob too? Oh, Rob, okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So, agenda item number, is this L? I'm sorry, my apologies. 7I, is the recommendation for the different big game hunting seasons across the state. I didn't see anything in here that the only one that I saw, and I guess I wanted to pull it just to make sure that we were all on the same page here. It looked like they were resetting the date for antlerless elk in unit group 104, 108, 121 early, and I'm sorry, late, my bad, from I guess I wasn't sure what they were trying to do here. Was
They pushed back the season from November to December.
right, so was November the original season?
Yes.
And, okay, and this was part of, I just wanted to get clarification, Mr. Thompson. There's no change, right? Like, I don't understand why we're,
Vice Chair Thompson, for some reason, I kept trying to pull the tag allocation committee notes and was unable to read it. The only thing I can think was happened is that it was recommended that the season be moved to earlier to November 21st through January 1st. I think due to the length of the season, they pushed it just to encompass pretty much the month of December. And I think that goes back down to the impacts of population and environment.
which makes sense, because this group of elk, usually they have migrated into this area by that
Pequots.
time.
Yeah, right down through the Pequot
Yeah.
Valley.
So, that makes sense. I just don't, I wonder if this is just something overlooked in there. It's a clarification error type thing that they're correcting?
I think it's a clear,
Okay,
yeah.
that's kind of how I looked at it, but I wanted to make
Yeah,
sure
no,
we had
that's
a
all I
chance to
took it.
discuss it, and if it was something outside of that, I did put a call into Cody just to see if I could get some clarification, and he's out on annual leave this week, so he did not reach back out to me, so unfortunately, I wasn't able to get clarification on that, but it appears that way to me, so I say we take a position to support the recommendation of the game division to the commission on this.
All right, before we do that, now you've been briefed, any public comment? All right. Do I hear, or all in favor say aye?
We need a second.
Oh, did you not second?
Vice Chair Thompson, I second that motion.
Perfect. Now do I hear all in favor say aye?
Aye.
All against say nay. The ayes take it, 5-0, we pass. All right, moving on to item number 8, future agenda items. Anyone on the board have one? All right, moving on to number 9, advisory board member commitments to the March 8th and 9th, 2024 meeting, and the May 3rd and 4th, 2024 meeting. I will be at the 8th and 9th this week down in Vegas.
It's actually in, so it's in Reno, and that's where we'll do big game status reports and quota setting. So.
Doing a field trial at Crockett, so I won't be
Okay.
available.
I certainly don't want to take an opportunity away from Tim or
I'll be on the road, so I won't be
Yeah.
able to make it.
I got a canine thing that weekend.
I could make the May 3rd and
could you,
May 4th.
so on the 4th, I'm teaching a hunter education class. So I will not be available. If I can get out, we're in the middle of budget build right now. It's kicking off tomorrow. So, and you know how that goes.
I do.
So May 3rd, if I'm available on that Friday, I will absolutely join you.
Okay.
But, I mean, that's getting right into when we have to have deadlines, and so, as you know, and so, anyway, I'll have to play that one by ear, but if I'm available, I'll join you on the 3rd.
All right, that sounds like a plan. And I'll watch the Vegas one, but
Yeah.
I obviously not gonna fly down there if you're going.
I'll be there. I'll be there. All right, cool. So Tim, I got you for Reno, and I'll be in Vegas, and then Rob as a maybe possible crutch.
Yep.
All right, moving on for item number 10, closing public comment. State your name.
Denny French, Carson City, Nevada. Thank you all. I'm so impressed with the exchanges that you've made with each other, the interactive conversation and the openness to the public comments. That's real refreshing to me. I learn a lot every time I come. I don't hunt, I don't fish, but I appreciate the fact that without you all involved with this, we would be in a heck of a mess. So as I've stated, I'm not a hunter, I'm not a fisher, I'm a bird watcher, I'm an insect counter, and an environment. So keep on, and if I feel I'm opposed or have a different position, I'm hoping that you will be open to hearing and sharing with me where you're coming from so that we have a better understanding. Thank you very much for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. French.
Yep, thank you, sir. Any others? All right. I'll look for action to adjourn the meeting at 7:01 PM.
I'll make a motion.
Do I hear a second?
Second that motion.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All against say nay. Meeting adjourned.